Over the years, pro players as well as the community have spent hours upon hours finding new grenade lineups in the pursuit of getting any small edge that can make the difference between winning or losing. But there is one smoke lineup in particular that's actually taken 8 years to perfect, and that's the Mirage Window Smoke. The window room on Mirage is a very common position for CTs to hold middle at the start of the round, hence why finding the best smoke lineup to block this position has always been a priority. So in this video, we're going to go back in time and go through the evolution of the Mirage Window Smoke to understand how this smoke was shaped over the years in the pro scene, along with the lessons that came about from each new lineup. I hope you enjoy. If we start from the beginning, Mirage actually used to look like this. What you're looking at is Mirage CE, and this version of the map was used in tournament play when CSGO first came out, spanning 1 year from 2012 to 2013. The window smoke was actually quite straightforward in this version of the map. All that was needed was a fairly simple lineup done with a running throw, and teams are able to figure it out rather quickly. But the new Mirage would make this smoke so much more difficult. When we look on HLTV, the first ever demo for the new Mirage is actually this match between Fnatic and Copenhagen Wolves at the 2013 Raid Call EMS1 Fall Finals. This tournament was the first time Mirage was introduced into the pool. You might see some familiar names here. Unsurprisingly, with the map being so new, neither team throws any sort of window smoke. But it doesn't take long for someone to figure it out. A few days later at ESWC 2013, in the match between Very Games and Fnatic, Devilwalk goes just outside of Palace to throw the first ever window smoke we see in an official on HLTV. It's a running throw where you first position yourself against the wall at Palace and line it up so that the smoke goes between these two buildings and into the window room. You'll notice that this smoke is thrown from a very different location compared to the lineup on the old Mirage. The main reason why is because this wall at T-spawn is much higher than what it used to be, thus making it hard to replicate the old lineup. The trajectory as a result of the heightened wall wouldn't allow the smoke to go far enough. The closest place that the wall lowered was just outside of Palace, making it the prime location for the smoke to be thrown. As a result, we see two other teams at ESWC 2013 who throw the window smoke from outside Palace. What's interesting though is that they line it up in different ways. This suggests that they actually figured out the smoke independently and didn't necessarily copy it from one person. Following ESWC, Mirage receives an update. The most notable change is that the red building at T-spawn gets rebuilt to give more room for grenade throws. When the first CSGO major rolls around, DreamHack Winter 2013, this has no effect on how teams approach the window smoke. The Palace smoke remains the only way to smoke window among the top teams. But this smoke is far from perfect. Besides how long it takes to get into position, the smoke is actually difficult to throw. Because it's a running throw, the player has to be able to release it at the right time. If the smoke is released a little bit too early or too late, the smoke might miss the mark. Because of this, there has to be a better way. We see the first attempt at something new at Fragbite Masters Season 2. Titan missed the window smoke multiple times in their match against LDLC. The very next day, we see something different. Titan line up this smoke in T-spawn in their match against Dignitas. It doesn't land, but the idea is there. 2 weeks later at Copenhagen Games 2014, we see the first time Titan landed successfully in their match against Alternate Attacks. As I mentioned before, run throws won't make it into the window room, so this smoke lands on the ledge just outside. This smoke is a huge time save because it can be thrown from within the spawn area, unlike the Palace smoke, but it does come with one downside. Because it lands outside a window, it actually leaves a gap on the left side for the CT to abuse. As well, the smoke is still a running throw, which means the execution from the player remains a large part. Despite those reasons, this lineup catches a bit of traction. About a month later at the FACEIT Spring 2014 tournament, Fnatic start to regularly use the ledge smoke. The same thing with Xyp9x and Dignitas, he also does the same smoke against Titan. This smoke doesn't convert every team. Many continue to use the Palace lineup, but now the ball is rolling on how to figure out the best way of smoking window. A couple months later during StarLadder Star Series 10, we see something new crop up. During the match between Hellraisers and ESEA, we see Mihu go upper B, line up against the edge of the window on the wall, and throw the window smoke from this spot. This smoke bounces off the side of the window and drops in. one of the first things you'll notice is that it's a precise lineup. Even a slight deviation in where you place your crosshair will allow it to miss. However, its biggest strength is that it's a standing throw. You don't have to worry about anything more than just lining it up properly and clicking. That being said, it suffers some of the same problem as the original Palace Smoke. It takes a long time to get into position in order to throw the smoke. A couple teams like Fnatic and Virtus Pro implement this smoke at the start of 2015. So far, we've only seen two main types of throws for the window smoke, a standing throw and a running throw. But there exists a third type of throw, the jump throw. A jump throw is done by jumping and releasing the smoke at the same time. And by doing so, the jumping portion gives the smoke more height and speed, allowing it to fly further. The toughest part about doing jump throws during this time period was the ability to release the fire button and press jump at the same moment consistently. If they're just a little bit out of sync, the trajectory will be different. Because of this, the idea of using a jump throw to smoke window wasn't explored. Now enter the jump throw script. The jump throw script is essentially a bind entered through the console of the game and allows the player to execute both the jumping and throwing part automatically with the press of one button. Interestingly, the idea of having a script perform the jump throw was first introduced within the community as early as June 2014. But it wasn't until 8 months later at the FACEIT League 2015 that we actually see them in action across multiple teams. And part of that is due to the introduction of separate North American and Oceanic divisions. In the Oceanic region, in the very first match we see between Chiefs and Team Immunity, we see a jump throw used to improve the existing ledge smoke that the European scene have been using. With just a simple bind, the ledge smoke no longer demands a running throw. That being said, the gap still exists on the left side, available for CTs at window to abuse. But improvements are made quickly. About a month later, the step smoke by Moku is found. It's a jump throw that bounces off the edge of catwalk to eventually land inside the window room. Regular jump throws won't go far enough from the T-spawn area, so the bounce gives it the extra distance for it to reach. In North America, we'll see something a little bit different. In the match between Luminosity and CLG, we see Flom throw what I'll call the floor smoke. This smoke is thrown from within T-spawn, and this one also lands inside the window room. But you might be wondering how this smoke was able to go far enough. That's because this isn't a regular jump throw. It's actually a jump throw combined with the use of the W key. By moving forward slightly at the time of release, it gives that extra distance that's not possible with just a static jump throw. With the jump throw opening up lots of possibility, teams all over explore as much as they can to find the best window smoke. But the envelope gets pushed a bit more at ESL1 Cologne 2015, the second major of the year. This is where we see Flamey throw the fence smoke. It's a jump throw starting at the top of the trash bin in T-spawn, which then bounces off the top of the post and then into the window room. There's actually a pretty key improvement with this smoke, and it's the fact that he only needs to wedge himself into the corner. Many of the previous lineups we've seen so far have this problem. The player first has to position themselves in an exact manner, then second, they have to aim at the correct spot to then be able to throw the smoke. It's what I call a two-stage lineup. For this smoke, it cuts out that first step by just wedging into a corner. This saves time and allows the player to just focus on aiming at the right spot, a one-stage lineup. But the aiming part is actually where this smoke has its issues. It's much too precise since it has to bounce off the top of a post. Being a couple pixels off could result in missing the smoke entirely. But it gets built upon at ESL ESEA Pro League Season 2 a few months later, where we see Nico throw a new smoke for window. This smoke is the crouch moving smoke, and it checks off all the boxes. It lands inside the window room, it's thrown within the T-spawn area, and it's a one-stage lineup, as the player can easily wedge themselves next to the trash bin. This smoke picks up immediate traction, as Carrington can be seen using it for TSM a handful of days later at Acer Predator Masters, and a big reason why is because of the crouching aspect. Since the player moves more slowly, timing the release is not too difficult, making it one of the easier smokes to do. By the end of 2015, jump throwing has created a number of new options to smoke window with. With lineups that land inside of window now, the ledge smoke is no longer in circulation. But a certain topic around the scene will change how smokes are thrown.
But yeah, okay, in regards to jump scripts, I do not think that it should be allowed. The reason why is because this is a game of skill, and if you can't do it yourself, then it shouldn't be allowed.
In the back half of 2015, there's discussion around the scene regarding whether or not jump throw binds should be allowed. Videos like this one from Adren ask tournaments to be consistent across the board as to whether or not they're banned. A handful of pros stand behind the idea that jump throw binds should not be allowed, arguing that one button should not have the ability to do multiple actions. The base of the argument is that there is skill in performing the jump throw and hence should not be automated. As a result, at the start of 2016, ESL puts out a new rule stating that jump throw scripts are banned, a ruling that the majority of players voted in favor for. We can see the direct impact right away on the window smoke. In the first Mirage game at ESL Pro League Season 3, both Astralis and Navi revert back to the original smoke in front of Palace. But not all the innovation has gone to waste. Some teams start throwing smokes from upper B again since it doesn't utilize a jump throw and it isn't hard to throw. Both Virtus.pro and CLG are examples of teams that bring it back. But the most common way to smoke window among the top teams was to do it from the mid boxes. For years, teams have been throwing the top mid smoke to establish control, but with the new ban, teams begin to deliberately use it in order to cross to the mid boxes and smoke window from there. The jump throw script ban effectively reduced the window smoke down to these three types among the top teams. However, a key detail in this ban is that it's the script that's banned, not the action of jump throwing. Because of that, there's actually a workaround. The tricky part of performing jump throws manually has always been letting go of the fire button and pressing the jump key at the same time consistently. This is where the -attack command comes into play. The -attack command, if executed while you're shooting, will stop you from shooting. The key part about -attack is that it can actually be bound to a separate button. Binding it to a separate button allows the player to press this button to stop firing instead of having to let go of the fire key. When applied to grenade throws, once the player has primed the grenade, pressing this -attack button will make the player throw it. What this means is that if we put -attack on a button like N, it is now possible to press both the jump and throw key at the same time, simulating the jump throw script. Interestingly, this workaround was posted only days after the ban was instated, but it wasn't until 6 months later at ESL 1 Cologne 2016 that we start seeing teams use jump throws again. As a result, jump throw lineups are back in circulation among the top teams by the end of 2016, and it won't be long until we get something new. 5 months later at ECS Season 3, we get something that's never been seen before in the pro scene.
Like that's such an ideal situation. So they punished the mid push, but still couldn't win the rounds.
Whoa!
Bialy styling. Are you serious? Diagonally.
Nice.
The running sideways smoke by Bialy is done by getting next to the trash bin, lining up your crosshair, and then moving sideways and releasing before the crosshair hits the railing. 6 days later, we see Dignitas' Tensky try this exact same smoke, and then a few months later, Flusha uses it as his go-to window smoke. But why use this smoke over the crouch moving smoke, which also shares the same starting position? The key here is time. The first metric we'll look at is the time to release, where the running sideways smoke is about 0.2 seconds faster. The second metric is the air time, or how long it takes to land. The crouch moving smoke blooms at 6.5 seconds, while the running sideways smoke blooms faster at 6.1. This is thanks to the difference between crouching versus running, which affects the speed at which the smoke gets launched. In total, the running sideways smoke saves at least 0.6 seconds, which may not sound like a lot, but any lineup that denies vision from the window room more quickly is considered valuable. In another 5 months, we see another new smoke. At Epicenter 2017, Valde does a rather simple jump throw from next to the trash bin, and somehow it flies far enough to reach the window room position. The lineup looks so simple you might be thinking, surely someone else has tried this already. But there is a very key element to this lineup. This smoke isn't just a regular jump throw. It's a jump throw that involves holding the right movement key, usually D for most players, so that the player moves sideways while throwing. To put in context, this lineup does not work with a forward jump throw. A forward jump throw with the same lineup does not go far enough. If we take a look at the velocity for a forward jump throw, we can see that it's 30 units per second at the moment the smoke gets thrown. But if we hold the right movement key instead, the velocity is increased to 64 units per second, allowing the smoke to go further. This technique actually makes use of something called wall strafing. It's a technique used in KZ to hit further jumps in places where walls might restrict movement. Wall strafing is also a way to go faster than just simply running. A wall strafe involves pushing against the wall using the opposite movement key, looking away from it slightly, and then jumping. Doing this propels the player forward much further and faster than a normal forward jump. This concept is applied to the smoke, allowing it to go further. Compared to the crouch moving and sideways running smoke, the smoke has the fastest time to release once the lineup is done. In terms of airtime, it is the slowest, coming in at 6.7 seconds. In total, it's actually the fastest smoke out of the three, and the biggest selling point of the smoke is that it requires nearly no movement, making it very similar to a normal jump throw. With these smokes in play, the usage among the top teams at the start of 2018 looks like this. The sideways running smoke shown by Bialy is the front runner. But by the end of 2018, the hold right smoke begins to dominate after teams realize how easy it is to do. But with these smokes being thrown so often, teams start finding ways to counter them. The first option is to body block, like Elege does here as he sees the smoke flying in. This is normally done for smokes that aren't thrown as quickly. The other option is to throw a Molotov at the corner of the window room, causing the smoke to bloom early and create a gap. And lastly, if a player was attempting to make the cat jump, it was possible they could body block the smoke, whether intentionally or not. With these counters in play, teams needed something more. It's at DreamHack Masters Spring 2020 that we get the final optimization. In the match between Big and Complexity, we see Keto lining up a smoke during freeze time and throwing it the moment the round starts. This is the first instant window smoke we see in Tier 1 CS. The idea behind this smoke is that since there are a set number of spawn points on Mirage, a smoke lineup for window may already exist from the spawn point itself, eliminating the need to go to the lineup position. This also means memorizing what each lineup should be depending on which spawn is received. At this time, out of the 17 spawns, there are 12 that allow the player to throw a smoke for window instantly. Because of how fast the smoke gets thrown, players no longer have the option to body block the smoke, so it forces the player to Molotov through the vents if they wish to deny it. In addition, since the lineup is done during freeze time, there is plenty of time to do it. It is the fastest possible way to smoke window. About 6 months later, by the end of 2020, a handful of teams pick up the instant window smokes. But fast forward another 10 months later, in time for the Stockholm Major, the instant window smokes are used by essentially every team. But perhaps the coolest part about this smoke is that the idea goes beyond just the map of Mirage. The concept of spawn-based smokes becomes more widespread and can be found on maps like Dust 2 and Vertigo. And when Ancient gets introduced into the map pool in 2021, instant smokes are shown by the 7th game on SLTV, and that is all thanks to the Mirage Window Smoke. Looking back, it's actually quite incredible how this smoke evolved. Pro players weren't the only ones invested in finding this smoke. The community had a big hand in it as well. Countless Reddit threads and YouTube videos have been made over the years, and some of them have made their way into the pro scene. For example, the floor smoke first done by Flom on March 2015 was posted on YouTube almost a year before on May 2014. We can even see a comment that might actually be Flom himself. Something interesting about the window smoke is that it always took time for new lineups to become meta among the top teams. For such an important smoke, one might think that improved lineups would be adopted right away, but this was not always the case. For example, October 2017 was the first time the hold right smoke was seen in Tier 1. Although it was the first smoke to be adopted by nearly every team, it took almost a year for it to gradually make its way through these teams. Outside of Tier 1, there was merit to looking at the Tier 2, Tier 3 space, because there were teams that were using instant window smokes as early as August 2019, about 8 months before it was introduced into Tier 1. Today, workshop maps have actually been built to practice the Mirage Window Smokes, something that would have been unimaginable back in 2013. But its evolution should serve as an indicator as to just how much our knowledge for the game has grown. So who knows what's in store for the future. If you've made it to this point, I challenge you to figure out how Snacks threw this smoke in 2014. It's a smoke that's well ahead of its time, so I encourage you to give it a try. It's not as easy as it looks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.